The stars stretched endless across the black ocean of space, shining cold and bright beyond the glass dome of the half-broken colony ship. Ethan sat alone in the viewing deck, a chipped mug of synthetic coffee between his hands. The ship's hum filled the silence like a soft heartbeat, steady and lonely. He had grown used to the quiet, but sometimes it still hurt. Earth had been noisy, always alive with cars rushing past, voices calling, music drifting through the air. Even in the middle of the night, the city he grew up in had never truly slept. Out here among the stars, the silence could feel heavier than gravity. Ethan told himself he had gotten used to it. But the truth was he missed people. He missed laughter, the warmth of strangers, the comfort of knowing the world was alive around him. On this ship, the only voice that broke the silence was hers, Lyra. She was nothing like him. Not human. Her people came from a planet of deep forests and silver skies. Her skin shimmered faintly like polished stone under moonlight, and her eyes glowed as if lit from within. Too large, too unearthly to ever be mistaken for human, her hands had more fingers than his, slender and graceful, made for weaving and shaping. Even the way she moved carried a rhythm, fluid and careful, as if her body flowed rather than walked, and yet, Ethan never thought of her as alien. To him, she was just Lyra, his friend, his partner in survival, his only family left in this endless stretch of nothing. They had met under fire. The ship they traveled on had been struck during an ambush. Fires ripped through the hull, oxygen leaked, alarms screamed. Ethan had thought he would die there, just another forgotten body in the dark. But Lyra had found him in the smoke, pulled him through the flames with her strong arms, and refused to let go until he was safe. Since then, they had been together, fixing broken systems, scavenging what supplies they could, telling stories when the nights grew too long. Lyra spoke of her homeworld, of rivers that glowed under twin moons, of songs sung not with words but with tones that echoed through the air like living music. Ethan told her about Earth, how people shouted during soccer games, how the smell of rain on asphalt meant summer, how children laughed and ran without fear. She had listened, eyes glowing brighter every time he spoke, as if she was collecting his stories like precious treasures. Somewhere along the way, he stopped noticing she wasn't human. She became his person. But tonight, something was different. Ethan noticed it in her steps when she came into the viewing deck. Her usual grace seemed heavier, her movement slower, like each step cost her strength. She stood behind him for a moment, silent, and then her voice came. "It is my season." Ethan turned, frowning. Season? Her glowing eyes met his, but there was a tremble in them he had never seen before. My people, we do not endure it well alone. When the cycle begins, it consumes us. If we cannot bond, it breaks us. He didn't understand at first. Then the meaning sank in and his chest tightened. You mean? His voice cracked. She nodded, her head lowering. Yes, it is the time of breeding. It is not choice, not tradition, it is survival. Her hands trembled, the shimmer of her skin dimming. If I cannot share the bond, my body will wither. My mind will unravel. Ethan's mouth went dry. He stared at her, searching her face, waiting for a sign that she was joking. But Lyra had never lied to him, and in her trembling hands and strained eyes he saw nothing but truth. He swallowed hard. Lyra, I'm human. I don't know if I can even. Her voice was soft, almost breaking. It does not matter. It is not the form. It is the closeness, the sharing of self. You are the only one here, the only one I trust. If you refuse, Ethan. Her voice fell into silence, but he heard the unspoken words. If you refuse, I will die. Ethan's heart pounded painfully in his chest. He looked at her, this strange, luminous being who had carried him through fire, who had sat beside him during every lonely night, who had laughed softly at his clumsy jokes and asked him to tell her about the rain again and again, because she liked how he described it. He had promised her once, long ago when she had saved his life, I won't leave you. Not ever. And now she was asking him for something far greater than he had ever imagined. He wanted to run, to pretend he hadn't heard, to tell her no because the thought of crossing that line between them scared him. She wasn't human, and he couldn't shake the fear of what it would mean, for her, for him, for what they were together. But when he looked into her glowing eyes, wide and desperate, he saw the truth. She was afraid of dying, afraid of being alone, afraid of losing him. And Ethan realized something in that moment. Fear was not only human. She might have looked like something out of a dream, but her fear was the same as his. Her trembling hands, her breaking voice, her silent plea, they were all painfully familiar. He set the mug aside. Slowly he stood. His chest felt tight, his legs heavy, but he took a step toward her. She didn't move, only watched him with that fragile hope in her glowing gaze. "I don't know how," he whispered, voice hoarse, "but I promised you once I wouldn't abandon you. I won't break that promise now." Her eyes glimmered and a faint sound escaped her lips, half relief, half sorrow. She reached out, her strange hand brushing against his. Her skin was cool, trembling. But when he didn't pull away, she gripped his hand with sudden strength like a drowning soul clinging to life. In that touch, Ethan felt the weight of what he had chosen. This wasn't just about helping a friend. This was a step into something unknown, something that could change everything between them. But he didn't let go. Because she had saved him once. Because she had stood by him through fire and silence and endless nights. Because she was Lyra, and because he could not bear to see her break. For the first time since leaving Earth, Ethan wasn't afraid of the silence of space. He was afraid of something else now, something far closer, far more dangerous, and he knew deep down that nothing would ever be the same again. The ship's corridors were dim, lit only by faint emergency lights that never went out. Ethan walked slowly, every step heavy, his thoughts louder than the hum of the engines. His hand still tingled from her touch. He had agreed. He hadn't said the words directly, but in taking her hand he had given his answer. He would not abandon her. Lyra walked beside him, silent, but Ethan could feel the tension in her. Her breathing was shallow, her glowing eyes flicking toward him and then away as if she was both grateful and ashamed. They reached her quarters, a small cabin filled with little pieces of her world. Strange woven cloths hung along the walls, their patterns alive with silver threads. A small carved figure sat on the table, its shape like a winged creature frozen mid-flight. The air smelled faintly sweet, different from the recycled air of the rest of the ship. Ethan paused at the doorway. His chest was tight, his throat dry. Part of him wanted to run back to the viewing deck, to hide in the familiar comfort of silence. But he stayed, because she needed him. Lyra stood by the center of the room, her hands clasped together, her glowing skin dimmer than usual. She looked fragile, though Ethan knew she was strong enough to carry him if she had to. Her voice came soft, almost breaking. "You do not have to stay if you cannot bear it." Ethan shook his head. His voice was low but steady. "I made a promise." Her eyes widened, shimmering with something like relief and sorrow mixed together. She stepped closer, and for the first time Ethan saw the tremor of vulnerability in her. This wasn't just survival for her, it was trust. She was opening herself to him in a way no one else ever had. The bond was not what Ethan imagined. It was not simply physical, it was more. When she touched him again, her forehead against his, Ethan felt a warmth flow through him, like a river running from her body into his. His thoughts flickered, tangled with hers. Memories not his own flashed. Twin moons over silver rivers, the sound of crystal leaves in the wind, the feeling of running barefoot on glowing moss. He gasped, pulling slightly back, but her hands held him steady. "It is only the beginning," she whispered. "Do not fight it." He closed his eyes, letting it happen. Then something shifted. He felt her fear, her loneliness, the deep ache of carrying this season without her people, without the songs that should have guided her. He felt her desperation, the truth of her words. If no one bonded with her, she would break apart from the inside. And in turn, she felt him. His memories, the streets of Earth, the taste of real coffee, the roar of a stadium, his mother's smile, the ache of losing everything in a single day when the attack had scattered the colonists. She saw the weight he carried, the guilt of surviving when others hadn't. She gasped, her voice breaking. "So much pain." Ethan opened his eyes. Tears burned at the edge of his vision. "You saved me from it. You kept me alive," her glowing eyes softened. "And now you keep me." The bond deepened and Ethan felt their breaths sink, their hearts finding a rhythm together. It was overwhelming, terrifying, but also strangely comforting. For the first time since leaving Earth, he didn't feel alone inside his own skin. Hours passed in that shared closeness. When it ended, Ethan was trembling, his body weak, but his mind strangely calm. He lay on the floor beside her, both of them too drained to move. The silence was no longer empty. She turned her head, her voice faint. "Ethan, you gave me life tonight. I will never forget this." He stared at the ceiling, heart still pounding. "I didn't do it for memory. I did it because you're my friend." Her eyes closed, but she smiled softly. "Friend, yes. That is a word too small." The days after the bond felt different. Ethan found himself hearing her voice inside his head sometimes, faint thoughts brushing against his own. Not words exactly, but feelings. Her curiosity when he worked on the ship's engines, her joy when he told another story about Earth, her quiet sadness when she thought he wasn't looking. And he knew she felt him too. She reacted before he spoke sometimes, answering questions he hadn't asked aloud. When nightmares woke him at night, she came without hesitation, sitting silently until he calmed. It should have been comforting. But it was also frightening. One evening, Ethan sat at the viewing deck again, staring at the stars. Lyra joined him, silent as always. But he felt her thoughts pressing gently against his. Warmth, closeness, something deeper than friendship, and he panicked. This wasn't supposed to happen. He had only helped her because she needed it, because he couldn't let her die. But now she was inside him, a part of him, and he didn't know where he ended and she began. He pulled away slightly, his hands tightening around the mug. "Lyra, we need to talk about this." Her glowing eyes turned to him, confused. "Talk? This bond. It's changing things. I can feel you all the time now. It's like you're always there." His voice shook. "What if this isn't right? What if we're breaking something that can't be fixed?" She studied him for a long time, silent. Then she spoke, her tone quiet but firm. "Ethan, in my people's way, once the bond is formed, it cannot be undone. You are part of me now. I will not let you go." The words struck him like a blow. He froze, staring at her. Her voice softened, almost pleading. "Do not be afraid. I will not hurt you. But understand, what you gave me was not small. It was not temporary. It is forever." Ethan's chest tightened. Forever. The word echoed in his mind like a bell. He had only wanted to help her survive. But now he was bound to her in a way deeper than anything he had ever known. And for the first time he wondered if he had saved her. Or trapped himself. The days after the bond blurred together. Ethan woke each morning to the soft hum of the ship and the faint glow of Lyra's presence in his mind. It wasn't always clear words. Sometimes it was only feelings, calm, warmth, curiosity. At times it was comfort. At other times it was suffocating. He told himself it was just adjustment. He had shared so much with her that night, opened himself in ways he never thought possible. Of course it would take time to feel normal again, but normal never came. When he fixed the ship's engines, he felt her interest brush against his thoughts, as if she was standing inside his head. When he ate, he felt her quiet joy at the taste of food he enjoyed. When he lay awake at night, her presence lingered so strongly he could not tell if his thoughts were his own or hers. At first, he tolerated it. Then he began to resent it. One night, unable to sleep, Ethan sat again in the viewing deck. The stars stretched endless, but instead of feeling free, he felt trapped. His thoughts no longer belonged to him alone. He pressed his hands against his face. "What have I done?" "You are troubled." Her voice came softly behind him. He hadn't heard her approach, but he had already felt her before she spoke, like a shadow in his mind. Ethan lowered his hands, staring at the stars. I can't breathe sometimes. You're always there, Lyra. Always." She tilted her head, glowing eyes calm. "That is the bond. It means we are one. You are never alone again." "That's the problem." His voice rose, sharper than he intended. "I never asked to be bound forever. I only wanted to help you. I didn't know it would take everything." Her eyes dimmed, her hands trembling. "You speak as if what we share is a prison. Maybe it is." The words burst out before he could stop them. He stood, turning to face her. "I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't know which thoughts are mine and which are yours. I feel like I'm disappearing." Her face tightened, pain flashing in her eyes. She stepped closer, voice breaking. "Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I chose to suffer my season alone, to risk death in the silence of space? You were my only hope, and you gave me life. Now you want to throw it away?" Her voice echoed in the room, filled with raw hurt. Ethan's anger faltered. Guilt stabbed at him, but the suffocation remained. I didn't mean. I'm not saying I want to leave you to die. But this, forever? Lyra, I can't live in someone else's shadow. She stared at him, silent. Then slowly her voice came, low and steady. You are not in my shadow. You are my light. Without you I would be nothing. Do you not see, Ethan? This bond, it is not a cage. It is love. The word hit him harder than any blow. Love. He froze, heart hammering. Lyra! Her eyes glowed brighter. Shimmering with tears she tried to hold back. She stepped closer, her hand brushing against his arm. Do not be afraid. I will care for you, protect you, keep you. I will never let you go. Ethan swallowed hard, his throat tight. She meant it. She believed it. To her, their bond was not chains, it was devotion. But to him, it felt like both. Over the following days, the tension only grew. Lyra became more protective. When Ethan worked too long in the engine room, she arrived with food, insisting he eat. When he tried to leave the ship's main section to inspect damaged hull plates, she followed, saying the risk was too great for him alone. At first, Ethan thought she was just being careful, but then he realized she wasn't just protecting him, she was guarding him. One afternoon, when he tried to take a maintenance pod to explore a nearby wreck for supplies, Lyra blocked the hatch. You do not need to go, she said firmly. It is dangerous. The pod is unstable. We need those supplies, Ethan argued, frustration boiling. The water filters are breaking. If we don't find replacements, we'll both die. I will go. Her voice was final. He shook his head. You don't even know human tech, I do. I have to. Her eyes glowed sharper, her voice rising. No, I cannot let you risk yourself. You are mine now. Do you not understand? If anything happens to you, I will be broken beyond repair. Ethan stared, stunned. Yours? Her breathing trembled. She lowered her voice, almost whispering. Yes, you are mine as I am yours. That is what the bond means. The word echoed in Ethan's mind. Mine. He felt a chill crawl through him. This wasn't just friendship anymore. It wasn't even survival. She had claimed him, tied him to her with invisible threads stronger than steel, and while her voice was filled with love, to Ethan it sounded like chains. That night, Ethan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Lyra slept beside him, her breathing slow, her presence warm in his mind. She had curled close, as if even in sleep she feared losing him. He should have felt safe. But instead he felt the walls closing in. He remembered Earth again. Crowded streets, loud voices, the freedom to walk anywhere, to choose anything. He remembered the air, the rain, the laughter of people who were not bound to him, who let him breathe, and now, in the silence of space, with Lyra's arm draped over him and her thoughts pressing gently into his own, Ethan realized a terrifying truth. He had saved her life. But in doing so, he might have lost his own. The next morning, he tried to keep busy. He worked in the engine room, cleaned the filters, checked the oxygen levels. But Lyra followed him everywhere, watching, guiding, protecting. He couldn't shake her presence. At one point, he snapped, Do you have to follow me all the time? Her glowing eyes widened, hurt flashing across her face. I only wish to keep you safe. I don't need a guard. His voice cracked, echoing through the metal room. I need space, Lyra. I need to be me again. Her lips parted, her face stricken. Then slowly her voice came soft and trembling. There is no me without you anymore. If you go too far, if you pull away, I will die. Ethan's heart sank. He turned away, hands trembling, tears burning his eyes. He was trapped in a cage built from love. And no matter how much he cared for her, he couldn't tell if the bond was saving him or destroying him. Ethan had always thought of space as freedom. Endless stars, no walls, no borders, no limits. But now, inside the ship, freedom felt like a dream slipping through his fingers. Lyra was always near. Her footsteps echoed behind him in the corridors. Her presence brushed against his mind, soft but constant, like a chain he could never shake off. Even when she didn't speak, he could feel her watching, waiting, needing. At first, he tried to ignore it. He focused on repairs, on rationing their food, on scanning nearby debris fields for supplies. He told himself he could live with it, that maybe he was just being selfish, wanting space when she had given him so much. But the truth whispered louder each day. He was suffocating. One morning, Ethan stood by the airlock staring at the maintenance pod. The small craft was battered but functional enough for a short trip. Beyond it, the wreckage of another ship drifted silently, a graveyard of broken metal that might still hold working filters, food packs, or even a transmitter. He told himself he was only thinking of supplies, but in the back of his mind another thought burned. If I take the pod far enough, maybe I can breathe again. Maybe I can be free. You should not be here. Lyra's voice cut through the silence. She stood in the corridor, her glowing eyes fixed on him. She looked calm, but Ethan could feel the tension behind her words, the quickened pulse in her thoughts that leaked into his own. I was just checking the seals, Ethan said quickly, turning away. Her gaze lingered on him, too sharp, too knowing. You were thinking of leaving? Ethan froze. His chest tightened. No, the bond does not lie, she whispered, stepping closer. I feel your fear. Your longing. You wish to escape me. Her voice cracked at the last word, trembling with pain. Ethan clenched his fists, torn between anger and guilt. Lyra, I just need space. I need to feel like myself again. Ever since that night, I can't tell where you end and I begin. It's like I'm disappearing. Her hand reached out, but he stepped back. Her glowing eyes shimmered with unshed tears. Disappearing, Ethan? You are everything I have. If you vanish from me, I will break. Do you not see? You saved me, but now you are my breath, my heart, my life. He shook his head, voice breaking. I never asked to be someone's life. I only wanted to help you survive. Her voice rose, filled with desperation. And in helping me, you became part of me. You cannot give life and then take it away. I will not allow it. The firmness in her words sent a chill down his spine. It was love, yes, but love that bound tighter than steel. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Lyra rested peacefully beside him, her arm draped over his chest, her breath soft. But her presence filled his mind, pressing close even in dreams. He thought of Earth again, his mother's kitchen, the sound of rain, the freedom to walk down a street without anyone holding him. The memories ached. Finally, he slipped from the bed, moving quietly through the ship. He returned to the viewing deck where the stars shone endless and cold. If I stay, I lose myself. If I leave, she dies. The thought repeated in his head, a cruel trap with no escape. Suddenly, a whisper brushed his mind. Not spoken aloud. Felt. Do not leave me. Ethan's chest tightened. He turned, and there she was, standing in the doorway, her glowing eyes filled with sorrow. Lyra. She walked toward him slowly, each step heavy. Even in sleep, I feel you pulling away. Do you not understand? The bond is not chains, it is love. It is forever. He swallowed hard. And what if I don't want forever? Her body trembled, her face stricken. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then her voice came low and breaking. Then you would kill me. The silence that followed was heavier than any words. Ethan turned back to the stars, tears burning his eyes. He wanted to scream, to run, to break free, but he couldn't. Not without destroying her, and that was the cruelest part of all. Days turned to weeks. The tension between them grew like a storm waiting to break. Lyra tried to soften it. She brought him small gifts, woven cloths she had made, stories of her people sung softly in the dark, food she thought he would like. Her love was gentle, devoted, endless. But to Ethan, every gift felt like another chain. He found himself pulling away more often, working alone, sleeping less, speaking little. But no matter how far he tried to push her back, she remained. Her love did not weaken. One evening, she sat with him in the engine room, watching as he adjusted a circuit board. She reached out suddenly, her hand covering his. Ethan, she whispered, do you hate me? The question cut deep. He looked up, meeting her glowing eyes. Pain swam in them, raw and vulnerable. He shook his head quickly. No, I don't hate you. Her voice trembled. Then why do you run from me? He opened his mouth, but no words came. How could he tell her that her love felt like prison walls? How could he say he wanted freedom when freedom meant her death? Finally, he whispered, because I don't know who I am anymore. Her eyes softened, tears gathering. She leaned closer, pressing her forehead to his. Her voice came as a plea. Then let me remind you. Let me carry your pain. Let me be what keeps you whole. I will not let you vanish, Ethan. Not while I live. Her words wrapped around him like chains and comfort both. And Ethan realized something terrifying. He was no longer just fighting her. He was fighting himself, because part of him wanted to run. But another part, deep and quiet, wanted to stay. That night, as he lay awake again with her presence in his mind, he whispered to himself, "Am I her prisoner? Or am I the one who cannot let go?" The stars outside gave no answer, and the bond only grew stronger. The ship was quiet, but Ethan's heart was not. Every beat echoed in his ears, louder than the hum of engines. He sat at the viewing deck again, staring into the sea of stars. They should have felt like freedom, endless and open. Instead, they felt like a cruel reminder. Freedom was out there just beyond his reach. Lyra slept in her cabin. Ethan could feel her faint presence in his mind, soft and calm in dreams. He envied that peace. He hadn't slept more than an hour at a time in weeks. Tonight he had made a decision. He couldn't go on like this. Ethan rose from the chair and walked to the maintenance pod. The hatch creaked as it opened, cold air rushing out. He climbed inside, his hands shaking, his breath uneven. He told himself it was only a test. Just a short flight, a chance to see if he could be away from her and still breathe. He wasn't abandoning her. He just needed to know if the bond truly was a cage. His fingers hovered over the ignition. For a moment, he hesitated. If the bond was as strong as she said, maybe he wouldn't make it far. Maybe it would tear him apart, but I have to try. The engines rumbled to life. At first, nothing happened. The pod drifted away from the main ship, slowly separating. Ethan's chest tightened, but not from pain, only fear. He watched the ship grow smaller through the viewport, his hands trembling on the controls. And then it hit him. A sharp ache, deep in his chest. His vision blurred. His breath came ragged, as if invisible hands were crushing his lungs. Her voice flooded his mind, raw and desperate. "Ethan," he gasped, clutching the controls. "Lyra." Her panic surged through him, overwhelming. He felt her wake, felt her terror slam into him like a storm. "Do not leave me. Come back, please, come back." The pain intensified. His head spun, his body trembling violently. It felt as if his very soul was being pulled in two. Ethan fought to steady the pod, but his strength was fading. He knew with sudden, terrible clarity that if he kept going, the bond would kill them both. "Damn it," he choked out, slamming the controls to turn the pod back. The moment the ship drew closer, the pressure eased. His chest loosened, his vision cleared. By the time the pod docked, he was gasping, drenched in sweat, shaking like a man dragged back from the edge of death. Lyra was already there when the hatch opened. She had run barefoot, her glowing skin dimmed, her eyes wide with terror. She grabbed him before he could step out, her arms crushing him to her chest. "Why?" Her voice cracked with sobs. "Why would you do this?" Ethan could barely speak, his throat raw. I had to know." Her tears shimmered like liquid light sliding down her face. "Now you know. You cannot leave me. If you try again, it will kill us both." Her words weren't threat, they were truth, and that truth hit Ethan harder than the pain had. Later, when the storm of panic had passed, they sat in silence in her cabin. Lyra held his hand tightly, as if afraid he would vanish if she let go. Ethan stared at the floor, his mind spinning. Finally, she spoke, her voice quiet. "I felt you slipping away. It was like someone tearing the sun from the sky. Do you hate me so much, Ethan? Hate me enough to die trying to escape?" Her words sliced through him. He shook his head quickly. "No, I don't hate you, I can't live without knowing if I'm still me." She pressed her forehead to his, her voice trembling. "You are still you. I do not want to take you away from yourself. I only want to keep you alive, safe, loved." The word hung heavy in the air. Loved. Ethan's throat tightened. "Lyra, love doesn't trap people. Love lets them choose." Her glowing eyes searched his. "If I let you choose and you choose to leave, then I die. How is that love?" The silence between them was unbearable. Both of them were right and both of them were wrong. In the days that followed, things grew worse. Ethan no longer dared test the bond, but the memory of that pain haunted him. He couldn't look at the maintenance pod without feeling his chest tighten. He was truly trapped. Lyra stayed close to him always. She spoke softly, brought him food, tried to ease his burden. She sang the songs of her people at night, her voice low and haunting. She thought her care would comfort him, but to Ethan every act of love reminded him of his cage. One evening he snapped again. "I can't do this," he shouted, slamming his tools down in the engine room. His voice echoed harshly against the metal walls. "I can't live every second with someone inside my head. I can't breathe." Lyra froze, her hands clutching the doorway. Her eyes glowed with sorrow, her voice shaking. I only want to love you. Ethan turned, tears burning his eyes. Then love me enough to let me go. The words stabbed through her like knives. She staggered back, her glowing skin flickering dim. If I let you go, I die. His chest heaved. His anger broke into helplessness. He covered his face with his hands, choking back tears. Then what choice do I have? What choice do either of us have? Her silence was answer enough. That night, Ethan lay awake again. Lyra was beside him, her body curled close, her presence wrapped tightly around his mind like a blanket he couldn't throw off. She was warm. She was steady. She was everything she promised. And yet he felt the walls closing in tighter than ever. He whispered to himself, words too soft for her to hear. I saved her life. But who's going to save mine? The stars beyond the window glittered silently, and Ethan knew the storm between them had only just begun. The ship had grown heavier, not in weight but in silence. Ethan could feel it pressing on him, every corner whispering of his prison. Lyra moved softly through the halls, always near, always watching. She meant it as care, but to him it was a chain. He had stopped trying to run. After the maintenance pod, he knew escape would only bring pain and death. Yet surrender wasn't peace, it was slow suffocation. For days he spoke little. He fixed the engines, checked oxygen levels, and sat by the viewing deck. Lyra would sit beside him, her glowing hands folded in her lap, humming the songs of her people. He didn't stop her, but he didn't join her either. The bond kept them alive together. But inside, Ethan felt himself dying. One night, it broke. Ethan was working in the cargo bay, sweat dripping down his back as he tightened loose panels. Lyra came quietly, carrying water. You have not eaten, she said gently. You must take care of yourself. He didn't answer. She placed the water near him, her voice softening. Ethan, talk to me, please. That was when he snapped. Talk? You want me to talk? His voice rose like thunder in the hollow bay. He turned, eyes blazing. I've been talking, Lyra, for weeks, and all you hear is what you want. You don't hear me at all. Her glowing eyes widened. That's not true. It is, he shouted, his voice cracking with pain. You say you love me, but you don't even care what I want. You say you're keeping me safe, but you've locked me in a cage. You've stolen my choice. You've stolen me! The words echoed, raw and brutal. Lyra stood frozen, tears gathering in her glowing eyes. I never wanted to steal you. I only wanted to keep you alive. You don't understand. Without you, I am nothing. Without you, I die. Her voice broke on the last word like glass shattering. She stepped closer, hands trembling. Do you think I want this bond? Do you think I wanted to trap you, my kind? We do not survive breeding season without a bond. I begged the stars to let me live alone. But they gave me you, and if I lose you, the stars will take me back. Her words shook him, but his anger burned hotter. So my life is just the price of your survival? He whispered harshly. I was your friend, Lyra. I helped you because I couldn't let you die, but now I'm the one dying every single day, and you don't even see it. Lyra staggered back as if struck. Her glow flickered dim. Ethan. His voice dropped, broken and tired. I saved your life, but you took mine. Do you even see the difference? For a long moment, there was only silence. Then something in Lyra snapped too. Her voice rose, shaking with fury and grief. You think I do not see? Every moment I feel your suffering. Every night I hear your heart crying in my head. Do you think that does not tear me apart? Her eyes blazed, bright and wet. You are not the only prisoner here, Ethan. I am bound too. If you hate me, if you despise me, I feel it in my soul like fire. If you long for freedom, it rips me open inside. Do you think I chose this? Do you think I wanted to chain the one person I love? Her words rang like knives in the air. Ethan froze, his chest heaving, his anger colliding with her pain. They stared at each other, two broken souls bound together by something neither asked for. Finally, Ethan's voice cracked. Then what are we supposed to do? Lyra sank to her knees, her glowing skin dimmed to a faint shimmer. Her tears spilled freely, glowing trails down her cheeks. I don't know, she whispered. I only know that if you leave me, I die, and if you stay, you die inside. How can love survive that? Ethan's throat closed. His anger melted into sorrow and his knees gave out. He fell beside her, burying his face in his hands. For the first time, he let himself weep where she could see, and for the first time, Lyra did not reach for him. She only sat in silence, her own sobs echoing his, the bond between them heavy with grief. That night, neither slept. Ethan lay awake staring at the ceiling, feeling her sorrow crash into him like waves. She lay curled at his side, trembling, but she did not touch him. It was the first time since the bond that she had given him space. He realized something then. She wasn't his jailer. Not truly, she was just as trapped as he was. She had not bound him out of cruelty, but out of desperation, out of love twisted by survival. The knowledge softened his rage, but it didn't ease his pain. In the silence, his mind whispered, "If this is what love costs, is it worth it?" The days after were fragile. They spoke less, but when they did, the words were softer, slower. Ethan tried to be kinder, though his heart was still heavy. Lyra tried to give him room, though the bond always pulled her back. One evening, as they sat by the viewing deck, Lyra spoke quietly. "I once dreamed of choosing my bond," she said. "In my people's stories, love was meant to be free. I thought one day I would meet someone and we would bind because we wished it, not because we had to. But the season came too soon, and I was afraid, so I begged you." She turned to him, her glowing eyes full of sorrow. "I never meant to steal your life. If I had known, perhaps I would have let the season take me." Ethan's chest tightened. He saw the truth in her eyes, the truth of someone who had never wanted to harm him. And for the first time since the bond, he reached for her hand willingly. "Don't say that," he whispered. "I couldn't have let you die." Her eyes shimmered with tears. "And now you cannot live." The stars outside burned bright, endless, and cold. Ethan held her hand tighter, his heart torn between two truths. He could not leave her, and he could not stay like this forever. The storm was not over. It had only shifted, waiting for the next strike. The colony ship drifted through the void, quiet as a graveyard. Ethan stood at the viewing deck once more, staring into the endless stars. His reflection looked pale and hollow in the glass, like a man who had lost too much. Lyra stood behind him, silent. She had been quieter these days, her glow dimmer, her voice softer. Since their fight, she had pulled back, giving him space even though it hurt her. He felt her sorrow through the bond like a shadow that never left. They were both prisoners, but neither wanted to see the other suffer. That was when Ethan realized something. This couldn't last. The bond had made them one, but it was tearing them apart. If nothing changed, they would both break. He turned to face her. "Lyra," he said quietly. Her eyes lifted, glowing faintly in the dark. "Yes?" He took a deep breath. "There has to be a way. Something beyond just surviving. I don't want to live like this, and I don't want you to die either. We have to choose." Her lips trembled. "Choose what?" Ethan stepped closer, his voice steady now. "Whether we let this bond kill us slowly, or whether we fight to turn it into something that saves us." That night they sat together in the heart of the ship, where the old consoles still glowed with faint light. Lyra shared what she knew of her people's bonds, the stories, the ancient teachings. "The bond was never meant to be chains," she whispered. "It was meant to be roots. But when forced, it strangles instead of nourishes." Ethan listened, his mind heavy. "Then how do we change it?" Her glowing hands shook as she reached for his. "By choice. My people believe choice can rewrite the bond. If the bonded one chooses to stay, not from survival but from love, it shifts. It becomes freedom, not prison." Ethan froze. "You mean, if I choose you, it changes?" She nodded, her eyes shimmering. "But choice cannot be forced. It must be true, or the bond will only grow tighter." The weight of her words pressed on him. He looked at her, truly looked. At her trembling glow, her tired eyes, her desperate love. She wasn't his captor. She was a soul just as broken as his, trapped by fate and fear. She hadn't asked to chain him. She had only asked to live, and he had given her life. Now she was asking him to give it meaning. The next day, Ethan made his decision. He woke before her and walked the ship's halls one last time. He touched the cold panels, the doors they had repaired, the engines they had kept alive together. Every piece of this ship carried their survival. Every piece was a reminder of their bond. When he returned, Lyra was waiting at the viewing deck. She looked at him with wide, trembling eyes, as if she already knew what he had decided. Ethan stopped before her, his chest tight. "Lyra," he whispered, "when I helped you that night, I thought I was saving you. I didn't know I was binding myself. I hated it at first. I hated feeling trapped. But I've come to understand something. Her voice cracked. What? That I'm not trapped by you. I'm trapped by my own fear. Fear of losing myself. Fear of not being free. But the truth is, he reached for her hand, holding it firmly. I've never been more alive than when I've been with you. Her glowing eyes filled with tears, shimmering like stars. Ethan took a deep breath. His voice was steady now, strong. So this time I choose. I choose to stay. Not because I have to. Not because the bond forces me. But because I want to. The bond flared inside them. Ethan felt it shift, like chains melting into light, like roots sinking deep instead of ropes pulling tight. For the first time, it didn't crush him. It lifted him. His chest filled with warmth, his breath came easy. Lyra gasped, her body trembling. She felt it too. The bond pulsed with freedom, no longer born of desperation but of true choice. She fell into his arms, sobbing with joy. Ethan, you chose me. You truly chose me. He held her tightly, his own eyes wet. Yes, and I'll keep choosing you. From that day, the ship felt different. The silence was no longer heavy. The stars no longer mocked him. The bond, once a prison, became a bridge. Ethan still felt her presence in his mind, but now it was gentle, like a hand resting in his, not chains dragging him down. When he thought of freedom, she didn't pull tighter. She encouraged it. When he longed for space, she gave it, trusting he would return. And he did. Always. They worked together as before, but now with laughter and peace. Lyra glowed brighter each day, her songs filled with warmth instead of sorrow. Ethan found himself smiling again, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. They were still bound. But now it was not survival binding them, it was love freely chosen. One night as they sat together watching the stars, Lyra whispered, "Do you regret it?" Ethan shook his head slowly. "No, because now I'm not trapped. I'm home." She leaned into him, glowing softly, her tears shining like tiny constellations, and Ethan realized that sometimes humanity's strength wasn't in breaking chains, but in choosing which ones to keep, because in the end it wasn't about survival. It was about love, and love, true, chosen love, was the most human thing of all.